Hello everyone, welcome back to my lectures, and please recall that in the first part of my lecture on how not to plagiarize but to paraphrase scientific writings, I have discussed and explained the importance of why we need to avoid plagiarism from our scientific writings and documents, theses, papers. So in order to be ethically correct, one must understand plagiarism very clearly in order to avoid serious academic dishonesties, which infringes ethical codes of conduct. And I have also explained the differences between similarity index and plagiarism, also discussed various types of plagiarism and ways to avoid them. I have also touched some surprising facts and misconceptions about plagiarism and copyright infringements and penalties. Let me tell you one thing, that plagiarism is an unethical behavior which may become a crime when the originality, individuality, and the authorship of someone's work is compromised legally and socially. There is no harm in using someone's resources, but using them in their entirety and without giving any credit, it is unacceptable by the scientific society. So how someone can use other person's writing, expressions, ideas, conceptions without compromising copyrights and without violating any ethical codes? That is what I'm going to explain in today's lecture. So this lecture includes definition, types, explanations, and conditions of plagiarism, and also how not to plagiarize but to paraphrase scientific writings in ethical ways. Honestly, acknowledging the original sources is the key to the safety. So in today's lecture on how not to plagiarize but to paraphrase scientific writings, I'm going to talk about paraphrasing and how paraphrasing can be done in the best possible manner and in the most ethical way. Please keep in mind that when I'm talking about paraphrasing, it doesn't mean that someone can copy the entire document and scientific paper and paraphrase, for their own benefits. No. This practice will be plagiarism. I'll also give you many examples of paraphrase sentences and how these sentences can be paraphrased. So let me begin this talk so that you can understand how not to plagiarize but to paraphrase scientific writings. So let us begin now. Okay, so now let us understand what is paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is rewriting and rewording of someone else's work, idea, conception, without distorting the meaning and making the readers to feel confident and comfortable about the paraphrased text. So it is basically retaining the original concept, idea, and meanings of the original document is very important here. In other words, paraphrasing is a restatement or rewording of a paragraph or text in order to borrow, clarify, or expand an information without plagiarism. So it is an important tool to use when writing research papers, essays, and pieces of journalism. Now, when we are talking about paraphrasing, the question arises, is paraphrasing of a plagiarized document ethically correct? Yes. So far, paraphrasing is done accurately, correctly, and clearly by giving the meanings and conception intact and citing original source. It is acceptable. But why paraphrasing is acceptable? Because the academic work requires the writer to incorporate the texts of published authors into the material of their own, reflecting a comprehensive understanding of the published material, which is used to support his or her ideas in an original manner. Alright, so now let us have a look on the ways to paraphrase sentences or small paragraphs. Now here a good command on the language is must, and it's very important to understand the original text, which will help in paraphrasing writings by understanding the original text and choosing the key points. When completed, paraphrase writing must be matched with the original text to ensure that the citation is included. So write and compare always paraphrased version with the original text so that you can get an idea that how much paraphrasing is done, whether there is any plagiarism or repetition or not. The one has to ensure that citations are included, the sources are given properly, and the structural changes are made along with different points of the original text which is included, and different points from the original text to begin a sentence. So what does this mean basically, and in a very short sentence that I can use to explain paraphrasing is that you have to change the structure of the composition without changing the actual meaning and the conception of the original writing, and that is what paraphrasing is, and this is how you can initiate or start paraphrasing of few sentences or small paragraphs. Now, when paraphrasing, various sentencing patterns must be used by changing the orders of the original ideas and rewriting long sentences into short. So here what it says is varied sentencing patterns, where you have to change the patterns of the sentences. You can change the orders of the idea in which the ideas are presented. You can change the order as well, and you can shorten the sentences if written longer than expected. And then you are also allowed to use appropriate synonyms to rephrase sentences and the paragraphs. And finally, make sure that the original conception and the ideas stay same. Alright, so let us take the roadmap to paraphrasing. Now, if you believe in read, stop, think, and tell, then you would have a smooth road to paraphrasing. Here how it works. It begins with reading the original document to understand the main points and contents. So what you need to do here is read the facts in the original documents and then take a pause. Just stop right over there to collect important points and events in the sentence. And then think about those points. Think about those important events, that how you can rewrite those events and those points in your own language. So for example, how can I say differently? How you can say differently? This is all what you have to think. How you can rewrite those ideas, those thoughts, those events. And finally, once you read, stop, and thought about that, then time comes to make your own story, to tell whatever you interpreted in your own words to the audience by telling the facts in your own words. So once you achieve read, stop, think, tell, you would be able to paraphrase your document more effectively and more efficiently. Another important question arises here, and that is why one should paraphrase. That's really interesting. And When you begin paraphrasing your document or paragraphs or sentences, you should have an answer for that why you need to paraphrase. And it's a very important question. Why? Because there are several answers to it. And I'm going to touch at least 5 of them to make you people understand that why paraphrasing is needed at times. It's not like that, it's not a good idea to use paraphrase methods every time when you start writing your own scientific papers or any other writings. But paraphrasing means that, here and there you need to paraphrase your document to express yourselves based on the ideas and conceptions provided by other people. So the first one is the understanding. To understand main idea and arguments, that's why you need to understand before starting paraphrasing your document. The second one is explanation, that you have to provide explanations to explain difficult terminologies or concepts or ideas. That is why you need to paraphrase. In some cases, the original documents, the original explanations may not be easy to understand. Then it may be your responsibility to make the readers understand, what does that mean. And at that point, just to make the readers understand, in an easier way, you need to paraphrase. The third one is highlighting. What is highlighting? That is to highlight interesting original ideas. It happens in many documents that the original authors put several ideas together, making it a little bit more cumbersome to understand. Now, your and my job is to make it easy to understand to the readers. So you need to highlight, or I need to highlight, whenever we are paraphrasing the paragraph or sentences, we need to highlight the original ideas in a simplest way. And that is why we need to paraphrase our documents. The fourth one is matching. To match ideas with the original. Now here again, we do paraphrasing, but paraphrasing doesn't mean that the original ideas and conceptions are deflected, they are distorted. No, the important point here is that our ideas, if I am paraphrasing, my ideas should match with the original ideas, with the original conception. Only then paraphrasing will be ethically accepted, otherwise not. And finally, connecting is the connection, to connect ideas with other works. And that is how we present our findings, our data, our results, by making a strong discussion, a case, a stronger case to connect our ideas with the original ideas. Only then we would be able to say whether our studies match with the previous studies, or our studies do not match with the previous studies. It all depends on how we connect our studies with the work already being done earlier. So these are some of the reasons that why one should paraphrase the document, sentences, or paragraphs. Now, producing good scientific writing is a difficult task to master, and writing for scientific audience is different than writing for other audiences. Scientific writing is not a romantic novel, that a way of uncovering truths and realities which must be presented in a very clear and transparent ways. I'm not saying that academic writing must be joyless and stodgy. It can also be witty and deep, but in case of scientific writings, depth and wit come from the ideas portrayed through the words that we use to express and present the facts. Hence, I have a very delicious recipe of 5 C's to paraphrase. The first one is comprehend, which explains the understanding of original writing. The second one is change. So change means changing sentence structures, composition, and words. The third one is combine, where you can combine your ideas with the original text or the original ideas. And the fourth one is check. So if the original meaning is not changed, that's what needs to be checked, whether that is intact or not. And the final checking brings a perfect matching between your ideas and the original ideas. And finally, citations. It doesn't matter whether you have rewritten the sentence, you have rewritten the paragraph, you have rephrased the paragraph, you still need to cite the original source. If you don't cite the original source, it will amount to plagiarism. We also need to understand the differences between paraphrasing and summarizing. These are two very closely but different terminologies oftenly used while we write and while we cite other people's work. Many times we need to paraphrase sentences, paragraphs, but at times we need to summarize the sentences or paragraphs, especially when we are writing discussions, especially when we are concluding our studies. And our conception should be very clear related to paraphrasing and summarizing. In paraphrasing, generally what happens, length of the text, it stays almost same and covering all the details and conception of the original text. That is what paraphrasing is. All the details in the original text are available and conception stays the same. So when we retain exactly the original meaning, similar sentences, details of the original text and conception, that is maybe defined as paraphrasing. What happens in summarizing or a summary of the text, that length of that paragraph or sentence is always shorter than the original. That's how we can summarize or concise. The original details not necessary, but it shouldn't be deflected away. And the important ideas from the original sources must be retained as much as possible. Alright, so these are the basic differences between the two terminologies, paraphrasing versus summarizing. Another few terms we need to understand, which we often use when we write, whether it is scientific writing or any other type of writing, and that is quotation versus plagiarism versus summarization. Quotation is mostly written within the parentheses, within the quotes, and it is copying short passages word by word from the original writing within quotation marks, and cited with the original author. Must be given the name and the years. For example, here within quotation marks, the game of science is in principle without end. He who decides one day that scientific statements do not call for any further test and that they can be regarded as finally verified retires from the game. So this is a quotation which was said by Karl R. Popper. It's always better if you can also use the year in which he said that, but just in case if you don't get the year, it's okay, at least you have given the name of the original author. So this quotation is perfect, but again I want to caution you that quotation in scientific papers are rarely used unless until it is a book or chapter or review article, but in original research papers always try to avoid using quotations. Too many quotations also lead to plagiarism, and many times the journals, the editors would not like to even go through your papers. So there are certain conditions where you can use quotations, and this shows the basic difference between the three terms. Now here are some more examples of paraphrasing. The original paragraph says experiments conducted on water mites suggested that they have significant potentials of controlling dengue causing mosquitoes. if they are applied in large numbers, and then there's original author Bilgrami et al. 2020. Now, when I paraphrased uh, this paragraph, it has turned into, while evaluating biological control potentials of aquatic mites, Bilgrami et al. 2020 suggested their ability to control population of dengue vectors if released in large numbers. Now, what's the difference between the two? The difference is, the sentences, the structure of the sentences, some wordings. I have used some synonyms in rephrased or paraphrased sentences, but the original meaning and the conception stays same. What's the original meaning here is the dengue causing mosquitoes, and the ability to control mosquitoes of what? Of aquatic mites. So basically the meaning and conception stays same. It is only just restructures. The sentences are restructured. The words are jumbled here and there, and some of the synonyms are used. Here you can see a good example of summarization. Summarization, as I said, is totally different from paraphrasing. And here the original paragraph says, experiments conducted on water mites suggested that they have significant potentials of controlling dengue causing mosquitoes if they are cultured in mass for field applications, and the original author is given Bilgrami et al. 2020. Now if someone wants to summarize this paragraph, it can be summarized in just 1.5 lines, and this is a proper way to summarize a paragraph. Bilgrami et al. 2020 has suggested water mites as mosquito biological control agents. So that is basically the gist, the very precise idea behind the above paragraph. And that precise idea was biological control of dengue causing mosquitoes. So summary brings basically the most important idea or conception of the original paragraph, and this is what I did, that I just rewrote the entire paragraph into 1.5 sentence by putting the core idea of the original. Now phrase it, paraphrase it. I just rhymed it. I put a few words here. So put the text in your own words. That is how we can paraphrase, that we have to use our own words to rephrase the text, and by avoiding copying, by avoiding similar sentences or similar words, and rearranging similar text. So it's basically using our own text, avoiding copying any text verbatim, and rearranging a similar text, and asking ourselves if all the important points are included. And that is what makes PAR a para. So put the text in your own words, avoid copying text, rearrange similar text, and ask ourselves if all the important points are included. And that is very important in paraphrasing any para or paragraph or sentence. There are many other ways to paraphrase your paragraph or sentences or document. We can use changing of the word forms. You may use an adverb in place of an adjective, or replace noun with a verb. It all depends then on what kind of situation is there, but original sentence says cat is an efficient predator of rat. So if you wanted to paraphrase it, you can say cat predate upon rats effectively. It's just the meaning stays same. The only difference is the structure of the sentence, which has changed to cat predate upon rats effectively. In another case, how to paraphrase by changing clause to a phrase. The original sentence says, after eating a meal, the lion took rest. In case of paraphrase sentence, the lion took rest after finishing a meal. Meaning is same, sentence is restructured and the clause has been changed to a phrase. Then how you can paraphrase by changing active voice to passive? It's again very important and very easy. All you need to read the original text, which says mosquitoes carry germs of several diseases. When you paraphrase this sentence, you may write it as several germs are vectored by the mosquitoes. Again, the meaning is same, and the precise point, the core idea is carrying germs or spreading germs. In both the sentence, that is the core idea. The only difference is the sentence and the wording. How you can paraphrase by changing words and using synonyms. This is how you can do it. The original sentence says predatory nematodes are effective biological control agents of plant parasitic nematodes. And the original citation, Bilgrami et al. 2007. When these two sentences are paraphrased, it says Bilgrami et al. 2007 stated that the population of parasitic worms are effectively and efficiently managed by carnivorous nematodes. Now here the words have been changed. A few words have been changed and synonyms have been used. Instead of predatory nematodes, I have used carnivorous nematodes. So that's basically synonym. I restructured the sentences, and instead of plant parasitic nematodes I have used parasitic worms, which is same thing. So this is how you can rephrase and paraphrase sentences based on by changing the words and using. And in the end, I would like to caution every one of you because there are so many online paraphrasing tools available. If you go on Google and search, you will find hundreds of them. I just want to caution to you because many and most of them are just scams, and many of them they just try to rip off people. If at all they do any job or they provide any kind of services and they try to paraphrase your documents, they do, but still when they return your documents you will still be encountering a lot of amount of plagiarism in your documents. So in a way you will be losing your money. In return you will not be getting anything. So I would suggest and I would encourage to paraphrase your documents yourself. It just takes little time and little patience. Go through your original documents, read it, understand it, and rewrite in your own words, which is much better than using these paraphrasing tools online. And finally, I would like to thank you all for listening this talk on paraphrasing your document, paraphrasing scientific writings. If you have any questions, concerns, queries, please feel free to write me at this email. I would be very happy and honored to answer your questions. And thank you very much, and I hope to see you again and soon. Bye bye.